Yeah, I get it. You're underemployed or you're unemployed. And you're in a transition, a change, or a transformation. Well, what are you going to do about it? I want you to look back at least 10 years where you were. Let's take an example. Let's say you're 50 now. When you were 40, did you have a game plan? When you were working for someone or for yourself, was there a strategic plan? Did you think out, hey, where am I 5 years from now? Where am I 10 years from now? That was kind of given. I was born in 54, so by the time I started working in the mid-70s, because I've been working for 50 years now, I was always into continuous education. I was well coached by 3M, so there was always a strategic plan year after year, but there was always a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan. I starting to do it personally. I read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Effective People, I think it was called. One of the chapters, one of the habits was have the end in mind. I'm going to be honest with you. I was thinking millionaire by 40. I already had 3 kids by the time I was 30. I had a great job. I was a president of a company, a family business, 350 employees. It was big business. And 3M really made us because we were a contract converter for 3M. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because now that I'm 70, I'm going to give you an example of what happened to me. Between 30 and 40, I got a Harvard business degree, 3 kids, great kids, built a house, was the president of a company. I could go on, but the trauma that I went through was a divorce. I did not plan a divorce. I had a strategic plan on my career and where I was going to end up and the kind of money I'm going to have, and then I'm going to be independent and free at 40 and I could do what I want. Didn't happen. Now, think about yourself, because I'm seeing my friends now. Amputated legs, loss of eyesight, loss of life, loss of a spouse, divorces galore, children on drugs, alcohol, not finishing their education. I mean, I could go on, but I had my secret was I was one of 11 kids. And that wasn't normal back in our time. So I got to get together with a priest friend of mine. He was probably 10, 15 years older than me, and he'd smoke and drink beer and stuff like that. So my confessional was a bar. I would talk to him and moan and groan and how do I get back with her? How do I do this? He goes, listen, hold it here. Rock. No, this is meant to be. This is something that you're going to learn. This is a lesson for you. This is your purpose. You got 3 kids at an early age, in my 20s. You should be thankful. They're all healthy. They're all athletic. They're all smart. You provided a beautiful home, beautiful landscape, and a life, and you took care of them. You raised them. You got the independence to do the discipline yourself. You don't have to get the mother's okay. So I'm telling you, you got to look at the silver lining. There is a silver lining in everything. And what I meant about the priest basically was, listen, nobody gets out of jail for free, man. Everyone's going to go through something. So this complaining and moaning about, Rock, I'm out of a job, Rock. I look back and go, well, hold it here. What were you doing in the last 10 years? Didn't you have a plan? Didn't you have savings? Didn't you have save for a rainy day? Didn't you live? These are all the rules that we had in my parents. No addictions. What was the other issue? Save for a rainy day. Live amongst your means. What are you going to do with your kids? Give them everything? I know people, their kids are moving back home and they're in their 40s. Going through divorces or going through rehab. Going through something very difficult. Understand this, some people never get out of the hole. I had a partner in business who had a heart attack. I was informed that, you know what, don't expect this guy to come back, because I'm thinking, well, he'll be back in 2-3 weeks, he'll be okay. No. Not only did he not come back, he ended up suing me for his percentage, which he never paid for. So I called my attorney. I said, what do I do? Do you need to represent? No, Rock, you could do this yourself. Just show him the books that he's got percentage of the losses. So he's got to shovel up with money. I went to one meeting to this guy's attorney, my ex-partner. Went to the attorney, represent myself, pro bono myself. I sit in his office. There's a one-man attorney, and there's a Bible. There's a Bible on one of the lamp tables. So I'm Catholic and I'm faithful. So I thought, okay, good. This is going to be rational, it's going to be logical, and it's just going to be the facts, and here's the truth. So I brought my P&L, I brought the balance sheet, and I brought the agreement, and I says, okay, here's what it is. Guess what? It lasted 20 minutes. It was over. Never seen the guy since. They call that, what's that, loyalty or betrayal? I don't know what it's called anymore. But I will tell you this. Betrayal is normal. It could be family, or it could be an employer, it could be friends. So going back to that 10-year past, look at your past. What has shaped you to where you are today? I'll tell you, I hit 60, I had to make some big decisions. I was self-employed, but I had a team. And I was very open to the team that, listen, I'm going to retire eventually. This is what we're going to do. Some of these people, my team, they're looking at retirement, so they were honest with me. So it was a very open collaboration. There was no W-2. There's no contracts. It was just pay as you go, and it worked out. I was thankful for that, because I always want to let people know, here's my roadmap. I was going through a difficult marriage, and my wife at the time, what can I say? We weren't aligned. Our values weren't aligned, and shame on me. It took me way too much time to try to do the right thing and live my Catholic faith and do all the right things. Well, eventually, I actually asked my past wife for a divorce or separation. I didn't want to use the word divorce because she couldn't handle that. So I said, how about a separation? I asked her, I met her in church, Catholic church, and I asked her for a separation and a divorce in church 12 years later. Because there was no issues. I paid for everything. I took care of everything. I had a prenup. I had all that shit. Everything I do, I probably overdo it, because I know what it's like being sued, trying to collect money from past clients and stuff like that. I've been through it, man. Contracts are very important. It's not like handshakes back in the day when my dad and I were doing business. And tried to work it out with a mediator. Didn't work out. Had to get lawyers. It was just terrible. But my life has been deal making, so I was a negotiator. I had a strategy. So between 60 and 70, I got a divorce. I got Medicare. I got Social Security. I exited my last company, and I started a new company. What else did I do? I got cataracts. My mother passed at 94 with no diseases, no sickness and so on. It was a beautiful thing. She kissed my father goodbye when she was in hospice. She had the opportunity to tell each other goodbye and see you in heaven. What else happened? The trauma of hitting 60, and I still felt like I was 40. Then I hit 70. I started traveling. I went to, even though I've been around the world basically on business, I went to Japan alone and I went to Vietnam alone, and those were huge because that's when I realized, wow, there's another world. It's so lively and it's so young. I saw all this opportunity where the people were excited to work. So I always talk about my pillars. You could go on my YouTube channel and listen to my 5 pillars. My 5 pillars are basically, one, the first pillar is foundation. That's your background, that's your upbringing, that's your coaches, that's your education. Those are all those things that shape you into who you are. The second pillar is what I call mastery, 20 years or more of mastering your career. And that could be where you're at right now is, oh my God, my career's going to come to an end. You might go into retirement eventually. This is all traumatic, believe me. And you can't overplan. I'm telling you right now, you can't overplan. All right? You could underplan by not doing anything. Okay? Then you're in trouble. The third pillar I call is transformation. That's when you get let go, you're laid off, you retire, you go through a divorce, you go through health issues, you have an addiction, you go through these things that I see in my world, which is mergers and acquisitions. Then you get to the point where, wow, I'm independent and free. That's the fourth pillar. When you're independent and free, that's ultimately the goal. My goal came from one of my mentors. He says, Rock, the ultimate goal in life is die with dignity, die with independence and freedom. Now, what does independence and freedom mean to you? Is it strictly wealth? Is it peace of mind? Is it health? That's what traveling does for me. You go to Japan, their wealth is their health. You go to Vietnam, you're talking about 80% of the people under 40, first generation after the war. It's a different vibe. And the appreciation and the love. And they look at me as Uncle Rock. That's a respectful term. They look at me as a mentor, as a coach, as a dad, to direct them well. I've already had that relationship with my kids. I've already coached them in sports. I've already disciplined them as a dad. I wasn't their friend. I was their dad. When you're raised with 11 kids, I saw every one of us treated differently. Because we're all different people. Different goals, different experiences, different friends, different beliefs, different values. Even though we're raised by our parents, we grow out of certain things and we move on to others. The fifth pillar, which is also under my YouTube channel, is your legacy. What legacy are you going to leave behind? What wisdom are you going to leave behind? I set up a foundation because I was at the point where, you know what? My kids are all established. They all got money. They're situated. They got their own kids. They got their own dogs. They got their own lives, their own in-laws, their own traditions. Well, guess what? I am so lucky and blessed that I got the best combo. I got it all. All 5 pillars. Now, what's this say? Is Rock boasting? No. I'm saying you could do it. But you got to look at your past and say, man, I'm 50 now. What's my life look like at 60? You could plan all you want, but God's got the plan. Well, hold it here. God's got to know what your dreams are and your wishes are, because He might help you get to where you want. That's how I look at it. I think God's got me to the point where I'm coaching and teaching others because I got that opportunity. My dad at 100 has said to me more than once, what's God at a breakfast or something? He'll say, when my mom passed, he goes, I don't know what God's want me for next. He says, listen, it's up to God. That was, it's going to be 5 years. My dad's beat all the numbers. His age, life after a spouse, a long-term relationship. It's unbelievable. That's what gives me hope. I got a role model. And that's what you got to look at. Don't go back in the past and say, hey, my parents didn't love me or my wife didn't love me or what. No, man. This is your life. You only live it once. You only live it once. So the goal here is you got to be positive. That's why I love this Vietnam connection, because I feel I'm being fulfilled. I'm on social media and these kids are going crazy. Listen to my stuff. And I'm only speaking English, but I have a translator in Vietnam. I got all this, and plus that, you got translation apps now and AI and all this other stuff. So anyway, that's what you got to look at. You got to look at your life. And if you say, well, Rock, I'm unemployed right now. Well, guess what? Do something about it. That's another story. At Harvard, we had auditorium seating. Marty Marshall was our marketing professor, and he would come in. He was like 5'5" and real loud and boisterous, but he knew his shit. As soon as he walked in the door would shut. There were about 100, 120 students, and he'd scream out, just do something. What he meant was, you market, you discover by boots on the ground. This is before computers and all that. We were reading books, talking about case studies, getting the examples of eventually what happened, because that's what case studies are all about. I don't know if you're aware, but I wrote a memoir too. I got a book of my first 25 years of my career, basically. My family and my business and how I was raised. It's basically the 5 pillars. And at the end, I have Rock's Diamonds. People that have read that book, including students at colleges and so on, just loved it, and I got a lot of testimonials and so on. The book is not about, oh, Rock's going to make a fortune. No. This is about, hey, listen, if I can do it, you can do it. It's a combination of living a good life, having integrity. My mother would push the 10 Commandments, which I remember, and that's what I have. I created my own Rock's Diamonds. And after 25 years, I realized I got what I call the 3 T's. The 3 T's is you got to trust somebody. You got to trust your client, your employer, your wife, your kids. Number 2 is transparency. I do deals and valuations, mergers and acquisitions, so I got to deal with buyers and sellers. And if they're not honest with their valuations and their criteria and telling the truth, the deals are off. If you're not transparent, being honest with somebody, just like a marriage or a divorce, if there's no trust and no transparency, and usually you find that out after the fact. You find out the dirty stuff, the lies, the fraud, the deceit. All right, and the last T is timeline. It's got to meet your timeline. And how did I come up with timeline? Because deals are made within a certain amount of time. Attorneys use the analysis of risk benefit. So what's the risk to taking on this relationship or this contract? What's the timeline? And then what's the benefit? If it's not a good payout, not only financially, it's emotionally. So I'm always saying about make sure you pick the right horse. That's another line my dad gave me when I was young. We were in business and he goes, hey, make sure you pick the right horse in a relationship, in a marriage, in a partner, business partner. I could go on and on. But this video basically is for the 40 and older going through change. And I'm going to be honest with you, nobody really cares about you as much as you care about you. Okay? That includes your kids. Okay? Don't go to your spouse. Forget about that. Okay? My mom, 74 years of marriage, she still thought for the kids before she thought for my father. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying that that's love. The kids come first. if you're a male listening to this, you're going to be in second place to the kids. I know people that are further down than that because they got pets. I won't name names. So, think about it. You gotta have a strategic plan somehow, some way, a personal mission statement. Look out 1 year, 2 years. I call them gigs. Pick up a job. You got to keep going. The other thing here is these guys that are losing their job, making $200,000, $300,000. Oh my God, how am I going to replace that? You're not. It's going to be down 30 to 50%. You're better off starting up your own gig, learning something, but don't go unemployed because you're going to get depressed. You're going to get bad shit. You're not going to get educated. And your network is really your value. My son Dan always calls it human capital. Human capital is all you got, Dad. I go, yeah, that's you. That's your education. That's your network. That's your background. That's your integrity. That's your reputation. Can you go out there and get it? So all these unemployable people, including the federal government and USPS and all this stuff that's going down, what are they going to do? How much ambition do they have? How about athletes? How much do the owners look at and general managers and coaches say, how much does he have left in the tank? They're going for the youth, man. I'm going to tell you something. I keep in touch with recruiters because they go, Rock, what do I do with this guy? Because they know I know people. And you know what the hardest part is the employer today is looking for refreshing their current clients because they got to retool them with computers and CRMs and sales, and everything's down to two things. You got to have a network for sales, and number two, what solution are you going to provide? But understand this, if you provide a solution, you're going to go on to the next deal, okay? Sales, you could at least work it. You could work the same client, same relationships until they change, because they change all the time, okay? If you decide to pick a employer that doesn't have the capabilities or can't keep their promises, especially now with supply chain issues and trade wars and tariffs, oh my God. I am so happy I'm not in that world. It's tough. I look at my kids and thank God they picked their professions, because they could always change in finance and insurance. They could make changes. And that's where the world's going. My banker just left with a team. He's in his early 40s. I said, congratulations. What are you going to do? Then they sign a non-solicitation agreement. There's still non-competes that are out there that are being enforced by private equity, because let's face it, the new owners of these founders and entrepreneurs and so on is private equity. They're trying to protect their turf, which is the employees that bring in sales. You can't just walk. And what are the biggest issues that candidates won't do today? If they got a non-compete, you're screwed. If you won't relocate, you're screwed. And the last one is, if you won't take less, you're screwed. It's just the way it is. So understand those. That's what this is all about. Here I'm in Florida, beautiful weather, under a tree. There's a little wind, I'm sure. I'm taking my walk. It's Easter weekend, and I've been reflecting on this, but my marketing people, I say, Rock, you got to get more videos for YouTube and TikTok. And it's starting to take off. And by the way, those are businesses for me. I monetize them. Why? Because whatever I earn is going to go to my foundations, my philanthropy, which is going to be Vietnam. I believe in the generations. It's your job to raise your kids, but after a certain amount, you can't entitle them. You can't spoil them. How far do you want to go? And understand how important Social Security is and Medicare as you get older. That's why you want to keep working, so you have an income, constantly reporting and doing your taxes. People underestimate the power of earning for those 40 quarters. So don't screw that up. But once again, I'm saying have a personal plan. Of course, there's going to be hiccups. Of course, there's going to be trauma. There's going to be tragic situations. You can't count on the government. Do the best you can. You can't count on your kids for you to survive. You don't know if you get in an accident. You don't know what's going to happen with your health. I mean, I look at my father and I talk to my dad, and you know, we have future plans. Hey, Dad, I'll see you on Father's Day. He goes, listen, it's day to day. I don't know if I'm going to live till then. So when I talk to my dad, it's usually on FaceTime because we're in different states. I just say, Dad, I love you and keep it going. And the other thing I try to do is keep my dad out of the trauma because he gets enough from everybody else. He loves a crisis so he could solve it. But my dad's only human. He can't save my mom. He's blaming himself that my mom passed away. His estate plan was all set up for his death, not my mom's first. And he did the right thing. His mind is still on my mom, which is unbelievable, but I give him a lot of credit. So that's what this is about, is the 5 pillars. You got to do something. You got to take action. You probably know your foundation. You already know your mastery because you're there. If you're 40, you should know everything from childhood to 40, and now you're going to go through change. And even if you're employed now, there's no guarantee that you're going to be employed 2 weeks from now. Okay? So have a plan. That plan should consist of your wife, if you have one, your children. Just let them know your game plan. That's the hardest thing for me, is to tell my kids that I'm human. You know, that, hey, I'm thinking about this, or I'm going through a divorce. That was really hard. It's really hard, you know. And I pray a lot. You know, I go to church and I got a faith. A lot of it's from my mother. So that's what this video is about. My father used to kick us in the ass, literally, to say, get up, get out and work. We were told before we were 18 that, hey, listen, start thinking about moving out at 18. Honest to God. I missed it. I was 22. But I was working for him too, so yeah, he was okay. He was watching my every move. So anyway, you got to think, man. And there's no excuses. Do what's right. And you got to learn. You got to get on social media. You got to learn this shit. I can't believe how many people think they're the smartest one in the room, and you're going to outthink private equity. You're going to outthink your employer that has a family business. It's not going to happen. You got to think for yourself and your family. That's it. But the first thing is you got to be healthy, and you got to be positive. You got to have the mindset of, man, I'm ambitious. I still got something in the tank. You can't be content today. If your kids are entitled or content or lazy, you're screwed, because you're going to blame yourself. I see that on TikTok where people talk about their kids are still living at home. They're living in their basement. What is it? Their phones, their cars, their car insurance. They're living at home with no rent. They're not looking for work. They're gaming. I've heard of marriages like that. Gaming. Gaming's a big deal. I don't know how many people are out there addicted to gambling. I don't know. Or alcohol or drugs now. I just know it's not good. And I want to be a role model of my kids, so my grandkids could live on and get better. Every generation gets better. Not worse, better. And that's why I'm so pumped about the Vietnamese, because I know I could help them. And it's part of my purpose. God's got me healthy enough, independent enough, that I can go over there and work that mission. So, I think that's enough. And we'll talk again. Go on my YouTube channel, listen, learn, and believe me, it'll inspire you, get you off your ass, go get a job, surround yourself with positive people, not negative people. That's the other thing. I got rid of, between 60 and 70, I got rid of anything toxic, anything that brought me down, including clients. Just don't want to deal with them anymore. I was bullied by clients. Why? Because I wanted the money, and I thought I could get the money. Well, then later on I said, you know what? I don't need their money. I don't need their money. So I walked away. Actually, I would call it FU money, and I love saying no to somebody. And that's when I use the 3 T's. Do I trust him? Is he transparent? Him or her? And are they working in my timeline? If not, done. I move on. And I refer somebody else. And I'll call my referral and say, listen, it's going to be tough, but you might get it. You might get through. I'll help you if you need it. By the way, price goes up. So keep your promises. In other words, do what you say you're going to do. Know your value. You know you're valuable. That comes with competence and confidence. And you want to educate, encourage, and empower your kids. And then last is bring joy, man. Nobody wants to hear about problems. Everybody's got problems. And if they keep talking to you about it, you got to shut them down. You got to shut them down. So listen, everybody's got a problem. Let's talk about something positive. And that's when you break bread. That's what's great about the Italians and everyone. We break bread. We eat a little Chianti in moderation, food in moderation. Okay? So this is Rocco. They call me Rocco, my friends, or Rock. And best of all, the Vietnamese call me Uncle Rock. I love that even better. So always bring joy. Talk to you soon. Happy holidays, Easter holidays, and Passover.